Hello and welcome to Software Testing from Scratch, brought to you by Eduonix. This is Chapter 4, Video 2, Non-Functional Testing. We're going to cover security in this video, so let's get started. So there's various types of security testing. There's a lot more than this, but just for the sake of this course we'll cover the main four: scanning, vulnerability analysis, penetration testing, and the all-important feedback. Scanning. What is scanning? Network interrogation. Network scanning is a procedure for identifying active hosts on a network, either for the purpose of attacking them or for network security assessment. Scanning procedures such as ping sweeps and port scans return information about which IP address maps to live hosts that are active on the internet or on your local network, and what services they also offer. Another scanning method, inverse mapping, returns information about what IP addresses do not map to live hosts. This enables an attacker to make assumptions about visible addresses. Scanning is one of three components of intelligence gathering for an attacker in the footprinting phase, probably the most important as well. Nmap is a scanning tool. Nmap is a security scanner, originally written by a guy called Gordon Leon, and is used to discover hosts on a network and services, thus creating a network map of the website, or Nmap. Nmap you can run on almost anything now. There's a version out for almost every OS. This is a little sample here, quite an old sample, of somebody performing an Nmap scan against nmap.org. So basically it scans that address and it can see that port 22 is open running SSH, port 25 is open running SMTP, port 53 is open, which is the domain service, and a few other ones as well. It also tells you other interesting information as well, or at least information it thinks you may think is interesting. It might not be. It's running VNC on port 5800, which could be very useful. And also the all-important, what operating system is it running? So, vulnerability analysis. This saves a lot of legwork. This saves your average penetration tester Googling version numbers looking for their own vulnerabilities. A vulnerability assessment is the process of identifying, quantifying and prioritizing the vulnerabilities in a system. Usually it's performed by a vulnerability assessment software. This table above is taken from a great application called Nessus. You can download it for free for home use. It prioritizes everything it finds for you. It's very important to manually verify the list, as it may just be a list of vulnerabilities because of a particular version number of an application. It may not take into consideration that it had been patched or circumvented by a patch anyway. So here you have a high priority, it marks out 10, so 7.5. That number there is a globally recognized vulnerability number, which you can Google, get some information about it, and then a general description down the right hand side. There's not usually too much more information it provides. The links would generally take you off the application online to look at the CVE or that number there anyway. So vulnerability analysis consists of several steps. Defining and classifying network or system resources, assigning relative levels of importance to the resources, identifying potential threats to each resource, allows you to develop a strategy to deal with the most serious potential problems first. Do you really care if your NetBIOS is broadcasting, if a firewall is letting port 80 traffic straight into your application server? I doubt it. Defining and implementing ways to minimize consequences if an attack occurs. Now, penetration testing is a very interesting thing. This is the process that involves identifying the target systems and the goal, then reviewing information available and undertaking available means to attain a goal. A penetration tester may target a system from a white box perspective, where all the background and system information is provided, or from a black box, which is a lot better, to be honest, from a penetration test anyway, where only basic or no information is provided except the company name. Penetration tester will advise if a system is vulnerable to the attack, if the defenses were sufficient, and which defenses, if any, were defeated during the penetration test. A penetration test can be likened to surviving a rabbit-proof fence, which must be a hole to keep the rabbits out. In surveying the fence, the penetration tester may identify a single hole, or a large enough hole for a rabbit to get through, or themselves to move through. Once the defence is passed, any further review of that defence may not occur, as the penetration tester moves on to the next security control, which basically means if a penetration tester can get in your system one way, chances are you have to fix that first before he finds another way. This means that there may be several holes or vulnerabilities in the first line of defence that the penetration tester only identifies the first one found as it was a successful exploit. This is where the difference lies between a vulnerability assessment and a penetration test. The vulnerability assessment is everything that you may be susceptible to. The penetration test is based on if your defence can be defeated or not. Now I think that brings us on nicely to an example of some penetration testing tools. These are the two big ones. This is pretty much the bread and butter of every penetration tester. These are the guys who get paid an obscene amount of money to come and sit in your office and test your applications for you. Metasploit Framework is an open source penetration testing tool used for developing and executing exploit code against a remote target machine. Metasploit Framework has the world's largest database of public exploits, basically. That's it. In simple words, Metasploit can be used to test the vulnerability of a computer system in order to protect them, and on the other hand, it can also be used to break into remote systems as well if you've got your black hat on instead of your white hat. It's a very powerful tool for penetration testing. Learning to work with Metasploit needs a lot of effort and time. It's not a simple application to use. You have the Community Edition, which is a web GUI version. It's really good. If you were to pay for the professional version, you'd have to be prepared to dig deep. It's many thousands of pounds. And also you have the Metasploit Framework console as well, which is generally the preferred method to use Metasploit. It's the command line version. You can of course learn Metasploit overnight if you've got a lot of coffee, but it also needs a lot of practice, patience and experience. Next we have Kn-Enable. Kn-Enable is a password recovery tool for Microsoft's operating systems. It allows easy recovery of various kinds of passwords by sniffing the network, cracking encrypted passwords using dictionary, brute force or cryptanalysis attacks, recording VoIP conversations, decoding and descrambling passwords, recovering wireless network keys, revealing password boxes, uncovering cached passwords and analysing routing protocols. Take a breath. The program does not exploit any software vulnerabilities or bugs that couldn't be fixed with very little effort. These are the kind of gotcha ones that you think, oh, I should have patched against that, but I didn't. It covers some security aspects and weaknesses present in protocol standards, authentication methods and caching mechanisms. Its main purpose is the simplified recovery of passwords and credentials for various different systems. It's a great tool if you're a systems administrator, even better tool if you're not. Now, we have reporting. Different kinds of vulnerability reports are out there. It depends if it's one you've stumbled across, or it depends if it's one that you're being paid to find. So full disclosure is the practice of publicising analysis of software vulnerabilities as early as possible, making the data accessible to everyone without restriction. The primary purpose of widely disseminating information about vulnerabilities is so that potential victims are as knowledgeable as those who attack them. If somebody was able to access your internet banking account without any effort at all, would you want to know about it? I think you would. And then we have responsible disclosure, which is a computer security term describing a vulnerability disclosure model. It's like full disclosure, with the addition that all stakeholders agree to allow a period of time for the vulnerability to be patched before publishing the details. Developers of hardware and software often require time and resource to repair their mistakes. Hackers and computer security scientists have the option that is their social responsibility to make the public aware of the vulnerabilities with a high impact. Hiding these problems could cause a feeling of false security. To avoid this, the involved parties join forces and agree on a period of time for repairing the vulnerability and preventing any future damage. Depending on the potential impact of the vulnerability, the expected time needed for an emergency fix or workaround to be developed and applied to the system may vary. It may vary between a few days or several months. It's easier to patch software by using the internet as a distribution channel. So anyway, I thought it'd be useful to give you a bit of an overview of Nessus and some of the reports it can provide. So this is an Apple Mac running Mavericks, and it just installs in the background. It's accessible via a web browser running on port 8834. As you can see, I've got a scan running here at the minute against Nmap. It's just against the scanme.nmap.org, which is open for anybody to scan, thankfully. This is the free home version. It only allows you to run one scan at any one time. So this is a fantastic display. It gives you everything you need just from here. It breaks it down into a little pie chart for you, so you can see what kind of vulnerabilities it's discovered. It's found 10 medium vulnerabilities, which equates to 23.3%, 3 low vulnerabilities, 7%, and 69.8% worth of information. Information isn't a vulnerability. Oh, in fact, it's just popped up with a critical there. Great. Information is just things it's discovered, such as banners on different ports that might tell you what kind of service is running, versions, that kind of thing. Not necessarily vulnerability, but something that you probably want to plug up. So let's start with the critical, actually. Apache version 2.2, multiple vulnerabilities. Plugin family, web server, count 1. Let's see what it is. According to its banner, the version of Apache 2.2 installed on the remote host is older than 2.2.15, which means that it could be affected by multiple vulnerabilities, such as these ones here. A TLS renegotiation prefix injection attack is possible, mod proxy AGP, mod ISAPI. Wow, okay, quite a few things here. They probably left that up intentionally just to give it a good range of discoveries. Yeah, so the actual output it gives you is the installed version and the fixed version. That's really useful. It saves you going onto the Apache website looking for the individual vulnerability and finding the version number and going through the process of installing it. Obviously you still have to install it yourself. This doesn't do patch management, but at least it can tell you exactly which version you have to upgrade to. And what it affects: port 80, TCP, HTTP proxy. Brilliant. So if you go back to hosts, let's have a look at some of the mediums. Pick another one apart from Apache if there is one. OpenSSH, no, multiple denial of service. According to its banner, the version of OpenSSH running on the remote host is prior to version 5.9. Therefore, such versions are affected by multiple denial of service vulnerabilities. A remote attacker may be able to trigger this vulnerability if GSSAPI with MIC is enabled to create a denial of service condition via a large value in a certain length field. And it's got a CVE number here, which is a globally recognized vulnerability number. If you type that into Google, you'll get exactly the same information. And the solution for it is to upgrade OpenSSH 5.9 or later. Again, installed version is 5.3 PL. Or P1, sorry, and fixed is 5.9, and also the version of Linux running on the server as well, which can be very useful. Okay, let's go back and see if we can find a low priority. I'm sure there was a low. SSH server CBC mode ciphers enabled. Let's have a look at this one. SSH server is configured to allow either MD5 or 96-bit MAC algorithms, both of which are considered weak. Yep, fairly self-explanatory. Note that this plugin only checks for the option of SSH server and does not check for vulnerabilities within the system itself. So that's, as I've said before, it's important. Not only do you run this tool against your system, but you also check to make sure that the system is vulnerable yourself. That's where the penetration test comes in, because the last thing you want to do is raise alarm bells with 100 critical faults on a system, only to discover that Actually, 99 of them are completely invalid because of XYZ configurations that have been put in place to circumvent them. Okay, so let's go back and see what information we can find. Info, device type. Based on the remote operating system, it's possible to determine what the remote system is. Again, fairly self-explanatory. That's the kind of information which isn't really a vulnerability, but if you wanted to, you could do a few things to hide it. You could stop banners, etc. Web mirroring. Okay, so basically saying that there's a shared page that you can access. OS identification. It tells you what operating system is running. It's running a Linux kernel, Ubuntu 10.04 Lucid, and confidence level is 95. Confidence level is how sure it is that the information it's providing is correct. It's 95 out of 100, so 95% sure that's what it is. So that's pretty much all you can do in Nessus. You can create your own policies. You can have them around PCI quarterly external scans, Windows malware scans, patch audits, that kind of thing. Great little system to use. I'd definitely recommend downloading the home version just to have a play with anyway.